a little long. Very warm welcome and great morning to one and all present here. We are welcoming you on Skilling on Saturdays, and today we have esteemed guest Brigadier Sushil Bhasin sir with all of us to share his wisdom. You know that for 1.2 million Indians, we have one brigadier, and today we have one of those here with us. Brigadier Sushil Bhasin is a military-inspired leadership and team-building expert, time consciousness coach, and global keynote speaker with 3 TEDx talks. As the author of 6 self-help books, including Million Dollar Seconds, he combines 34 years of military leadership with 20 years in business and education world. Founder of BSB Life Academy, he delivers transformative speeches that empowers leaders and teams to excel in the corporate and education arena. Known for his engaging keynotes, Brigadier Bhasin sir has spoken globally and has been on the Excom of PSAI, that is Professional Speakers Association of India, and is currently the education chair for the 3rd year. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Brigadier Sushil Bhasin sir. We welcome you, sir, on Scaling on Saturdays and look forward to hear from you the lessons from the battlefield to the boardroom. Welcome,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Thank you, Shivani. Thank you for inviting me, and it's a pleasure for me to be here.
So we have Rajkumar sir present here.
Thank you, Shivani ji.
Have I come to this planet to pay bills?
Leaders are not born, they are made.
So I want to meet you for half an hour. How much will you charge? Everyone will be buying and selling time.
विश्व में केवल 10% ऐसे लोग हैं जो गोल सेट करते हैं.
The manager converted into a leader and you said, we all know, let's do it.
What would you do if suddenly from somewhere a bullet came and hit your head? Can somebody tell me? What would you do? Please unmute yourselves and tell me what will be your reaction if you're just going on the road and from nowhere a bullet comes and hits you.
We would be perplexed.
Okay.
कुछ समझ नहीं आएगा क्या करना है.
अच्छा, okay. Thank you. कुछ समझ नहीं आएगा क्या करना है. हाँ.
Maybe blank for a few minutes.
Blank for a few minutes. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? What would you do? Anyway, so I'm going to share.
If it hits my head, I'm already gone.
Sorry?
If it hits my head, I'm already gone.
Yes, I thought that somebody will say that. Yes. So many people say that there'll be no time to react if you suddenly get a bullet on your head. I'm going to now tell you the story of Captain Jubin Matthews from my regiment. In the early 90s, he was posted in the J&K, where you know that those days there was height of militancy there. There were terrorists and there were, there were a lot of, what do you call, so it was, it was a counter-insurgency area. And In that area, Captain Jubin Matthews was posted in the battalion. One day, at about just past midnight, there was a news that they got that there were some militants hiding in the village next door. He quickly collected his QRT. QRT is a quick reaction team. And they went there. Now there are two teams in this QRT, two parts. One is an operations team, which goes and actually does the search in a particular drill. But there is another support group. So Jubin Matthews was leading the support group, and there was another captain who was in the operations team. He was heading the operations team. He was the first one to enter the door. And I told you it was past midnight, so it was very dark. The only light available was the street lights and all outside. So very, very dim. So he went into the house, the first room. It was a 3-storied house. You have to first scan and search the ground floor, secure it, and then go to the first floor and so on. That's a drill. So as he went into towards the right corner of the room, suddenly there was a bullet sound and he fell down. Captain Jubin Matthews is standing at the door. Behind him is his support team. The moment this happened, Captain Jubin Matthews could not find out or could not make out whether this man has just fallen and is injured or is he dead. Can somebody tell me, if you were in Captain Jubin Matthews' place, what would you do? That you are in the support group, your job is not really to go inside, and there is an operations team. So would you tell the operations team to go ahead and do the job? What would you do if you were in Captain Jubin Matthews' place? Anyone? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to make this very interactive, and it will not be really a lecture, so please be prepared to participate.
Sir, if I have the ability, I'll go and help him out. But
No,
I should know.
No, imagine your ability. If you have the ability is not the question. There's no if. So you're standing at the door and tell me, what will you do? Help him in what?
I will go and find first he's alive or not.
Okay. So you will go inside, that means.
I can get hit. I can also get hit, right? I'm sorry.
So you'll not go inside. So you'll not go inside. No, just tell me, what will you do?
Yes, that's the question.
Okay,
No
so
idea.
ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what Captain Jubin Matthews did. And in the end, I'm going to ask you, would you have done what he did? So he crawled, went to him, lifted him. We have something called a fireman lift. He lifted him on his shoulder and he was getting in towards the door when another bullet fired. And this bullet hit Captain Jubin Matthews on his head. Because he was wearing a helmet, he didn't die, but he was badly injured. He was taken to the hospital. His head had been shattered. It was too serious for anything that the hospital in Srinagar could do anything about. So they gave him first aid, put him in a helicopter and air evacuated him to Jammu. He was treated in Jammu military hospital for 1 month, after which he became okay. And after 1 month, he was given sick leave. Now, sick leave is given to a patient when the patient requires no further treatment, but requires rest and recoup. He should have gone to Delhi at night by the night train, where his home was, for 30 days. But Jubin Matthews did not do that. He went back to the transit camp, took the convoy next day to Srinagar, and from Srinagar, he took another convoy to his battalion and reported there. The commanding officer has already got a signal from the hospital that this officer has been given 1 month sick leave. So he said, why are you here? He said, sir, what will I do at home? It'll be so boring there. Here there is action. At home there's no action. He said, but that is against medical advice. I can't take you on duty. He said, sir, I'm prepared to give you in writing that I'm doing it at my risk. Please allow me. He said, but why? He said, sir, we are 20 officers authorized in the battalion. We are only 12. We are already 12 against 20. And if I also go away, there'll be 11 officers left. And that means my 11 officers will get that extra burden of mine. Why would I like to contribute rather than be at home feeling guilty of not being contributing to the battalion? He said, no, that's a good thought. But you see, you are not, I can't employ you. So what's the use? He said, sir, there is always one officer in the headquarters. I'll do that job. At least you'll have 11 officers to be available to you for any operations. The commanding officer was in a dilemma. He can't accept him because he's duty bound not to go against medical advice. Yet he found that there's a very good leadership quality. He's setting a good example for others. So he rang up the brigade commander and took his advice. Brigade commander said, it's a very good example he's setting. I will take the risk. Take him. Just take this letter from him that he's a volunteer and we haven't forced him. So Captain Jubin Matthews joined duty. After another week or so, again, there was a similar incident where militants were hiding and they got to know. This time, there was no time to get the QRT ready because there was some condition where he was, they were supposed to react immediately. So he immediately took a few people with him and went and led that operation single-handedly. And this time, he got another bullet injury, but now in his leg. My question, ladies and gentlemen, is why did Jubin Matthews do that? Why did he do it? Just give a little thought to it. Why did he do it when he had the option, and not only option, he was duty bound to go home and take rest as per advice and orders? Why did he go against those orders, the advice, the norm, and join his duty? And before I come to that question, I want to ask you, how many of you fear death? Please raise your hands, electronically or otherwise. How many of you fear death? Anyone who's not raising the hand is obviously telling lies. But anyway, chalo, I'll accept lies this morning, right? Why is it that a soldier goes into operations with bullets firing and he doesn't run back, he still goes forward? You all saw the Kargil war from your bedrooms and drawing rooms. And you know that in Kargil, sorry? Hello. Yeah. So I was saying, in the Kargil, you saw that the enemy was occupying high positions and it was a very tough vertical, very steep climb that people had to make. And he did not even need arms and ammunition. Even if he was to roll down stones or rocks, he would kill people. Yet people went up. Don't they fear death? Why do they do it? So can somebody now tell me or type in the chat, why do people in the army still, they are prepared to sacrifice their limbs and life. They are prepared to go to extreme areas of discomfort with terrain and weather being big enemies. Tell me, why does the army do it? Because of training, okay? Love
for the nation and passion.
Okay.
Brave by heart.
Sorry?
They're very brave. They're very brave by heart.
They're very brave by heart. So where do they come from? Are there some are they imported from Mars and Jupiter, or are they imported from Italy and France? Where do they come from? Where do these brave people come from?
Because of the core values they have developed towards love for the nation in their trainings.
Okay, raise hands. Please raise hands. Preeti is already raising hands. So please lower your hand, Preeti. And so I know that it's not already a raised hand. Even my hand seems to be raised. I don't know. Okay, I'll do that later. Tell me, Raise your hands if you also love the nation. Raise hands if you love the nation. Raise hands if you are patriotic. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, after having served the army for 34 years and been under training for 4 years, so it's 38 years. Out of the 38 years, I'll tell you that I didn't love the country any more than you do. We love the country. We all love the country. People do not die as much as for the nation. Of course, they die for the nation. But people in the army die for the Paltan, the Izzat of the Paltan, the battalion. And this Izzat word is not the word that you see in the dictionary. जो इज्जत का शब्द आप देखते हैं शब्दकोश में, ये वो इज्जत नहीं है. ये जो पलटन की इज्जत है, ये आपको पलटन में होना पड़ता है, उसको फील करना पड़ता है, उसको जीना पड़ता है, to live this. And then you come to know what this izzat is. The way we treat our flag, the way we treat our slogan, all that, the war cry. हम अपनी बटालियन को छोड़ के नहीं जाते हैं. अगर एक बटालियन से जाना हम रो पड़ते हैं. लेकिन आप लोग का मतलब है सिविलियंस इन द कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड, वो एक कंपनी ज्वाइन करते हैं और उनके पास सीवी तैयार होती है दूसरी कंपनी ज्वाइन करने के लिए. हमारे यहाँ नहीं होता है. हमारे यहाँ एट्रिशन नहीं होती है, खाली लड़ाई में एट्रिशन होती है. हमारे यहाँ इंडियन आर्मी से पाकिस्तान आर्मी में कोई नहीं चला जाता है. कोई एक रेजिमेंट से दूसरी रेजिमेंट में अपना नहीं चला जाता है, unless he is forced to or there's reason for it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand that people die for each other. And it is not, they die for their commanding officer, they die for their comrades. You know, it is a worldwide phenomena that in every army, when they ask people, why did you do that? And you know, the answer is? The answer is because he would have done the same for me. In my very first posting in Sikkim, I was in a place, you must have all heard of Nathula. There's another place, La means a pass. So there's another pass very close to it called Yakla, and I was posted in Yakla. What I understood at the age of 19 when I was commissioned, I understood one thing very clearly. That if something happens to me, my father, mother, brother, sister, friends are not going to reach there. It will be these people. And these people who are around me, अगर मेरे को कुछ हो जाए और खून की जरूरत हो, तो उनका खून मिलेगा. अपने भाईजन का खून नहीं मिलेगा. और वो खून किसका होगा? वो मुसलमान का हो सकता है, वो सिख का हो सकता है, ईसाई का हो सकता है, क्रिश्चियन का हो सकता है. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. हम एक ही लंगर में खाना खाते हैं, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. हमारे यहाँ एक ही धर्म स्थल होता है, एक ही जगह, जिसको मंदिर बोलो, मस्जिद बोलो, जो मर्जी बोलो, एक ही उसका नाम है धर्म स्थल. एक ही जगह गुरु नानक की भी मूर्ति लगी है या फोटो लगी है, वहां पे जीसस क्राइस्ट का भी स्टैचू लगा है, उधर राम और सीता और सब कुछ वहीं लगा है सामने. अगर पंडित जी छुट्टी चले जाते हैं तो जन्माष्टमी मौलवी जी मना देते हैं. A Maulvi ji in the army can conduct a Janmashtami program and a Pandit ji can conduct a Eid program. This is the Indian Army. So, ladies and gentlemen, today, why am I saying all this is to tell you from where all these values come. From where all these values come, training, discipline, they're all a part of that whole story. But what the army does, the corporate cannot ever do. The army never teaches you leadership in the classroom. I started learning leadership from the first day I entered NDA, where every day on the ground, there were instances where we were learning leadership. For 13 years, that means 4 years from in NDA and 13 years, or 17 years after I joined the NDA, first time I heard a lecture in staff college on leadership. We never heard lectures on leadership. We never read books on leadership. We faced it. We lived it. Okay. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we move ahead. And the question is, why did they do it? Because of the organizational culture. Organizational culture. Does it happen in the corporate? Just tell me. How many of you feel that such things that what Jubin Matthews did happen in the corporate as well?
In corporate, they defy each other. They try to go ahead of each other.
Okay. But do you
So
think
that
do you think how many do you think that this type of a thing happens in the corporate world? That's my
no,
question.
no.
No? Anyone else?
A
Never,
rare
never.
percentage
Sorry?
happened in a rare percentage. It happened in Taj case.
Yes, I was going. Okay. Very good.
Yes, it's very nice.
Very good. Thank you, Shivani. You just said what I was going to say. There are
What a
many
culture.
companies, very many companies. It's not about firing. Of course, Taj is a very great example. And I don't have time today in this. I could, I've done talks, 2 hours talks on only that one operation that happened in Taj. Okay, how the NSG came, what did they do? It has become a world record. It has become a world case study that 1100 rooms were searched in 72 hours with not a single casualty to civilians, not a single one.
So can we get the
Whatever
recording?
casualties happened, whatever casualties happened before the NSG came in. Once the army came in, there was zero casualty. Okay, पर चलो वो बात किसी और दिन करेंगे. It happens in the corporate. It's not only here. Even people do exception. It's not about dying. It's not about bullets. That you do sometimes things exceptionally in the corporate also. But what Shivani said is right. It happens very rarely. Captain Jubin Matthews' brother in the corporate will probably not do it. But Jubin Matthews did it. Why? It is the organization culture. If you ask anyone, why did you do it? The answer is because he would have also done the same for me. That is the answer. Okay. So let's move ahead and say, can we also build organizational culture in our corporate world? So as we proceed, I just want to tell you that success does not come from what you learn. Success comes from what you do with what you learn. Action, implementation. These are the important things. So I would like you to grab a piece of paper and pen so that if there is anything that I say now, which resonates with you or something that I've already said, that something struck your mind and said, I will also do this or I will not do this. Okay, please make a note of it and write down only what is pertinent to you in your life. Don't write what I'm saying, because I'm saying from my life, and my life and your life are different. So I would like you to keep making your notes. Now we are talking leadership. And when we are talking about leadership, the question is, why army? Why are we saying battlefield to boardroom? A lot of people say कि sir, कोई दोनों का मुकाबला नहीं है. Military leadership का काम कुछ और है, corporate leadership का काम ही कुछ और है. And that's very true. Business leadership and military leadership are totally different. The requirements are different. In the corporate world, the requirement is profit. In the army, there's no profit. There's no investment. But what I want to tell you today is that Sun Tzu, one of the most profound Chinese philosopher soldiers, has said in his book called Art of War that the principles of war are equally applicable in the corporate world, because the corporate world also is a battlefield. The same battlefield which is uncertain, unfair, chaotic. Okay. And today I have very limited time. In 1 hour, you can't do this. Is a workshop I do for 2 days. And I'm just going to give you the sense. And from now onwards, I'm going to be very quick. I just wanted to tell you that story to bring you into that mood of understanding that army is so different. The culture is different. The organizational culture is so different. Why? Because everyone is doing the same thing. हम जब सिंगापुर में होते हैं तो हम कभी कोई सिगरेट बट भी बाहर नहीं फेंकेंगे. पर सिंगापुर से फ्लाइट लेके बॉम्बे आएंगे तो बॉम्बे में फेंक देंगे. Why? Because of the environment, जहाँ क्या हो रहा है. So we change according to the environment. So ladies and gentlemen, why military leadership? I want to, before I come to tell you why military leadership, let me tell you what is the scenario of corporate environment worldwide as far as leadership is concerned. A McKinsey report says that 77% of the organizations feel that leadership is not being delivered at the desired level. 77% leadership at all levels in the corporate world is not being delivered, is not being executed the way it is expected to. 69% of the millennials say that they complain about no leadership skill development in their organizations. And 83% businesses say that it is very important to develop leaders at all levels. But do you know, and you'll be shocked to know, that only less than 5% of the companies actually implement leadership development across all levels. Now, today, what I'm going to tell you is, I'm not only talking about corporate leadership. I'm talking about any leadership. Whether you are a CA, whether you are a doctor, whether you are a homemaker. I can spend some time and tell you how a lady who doesn't go out of her house to work is also a great leader. The way she leads and manages that family is a total management system. उसकी किचन में कोई चीज खत्म नहीं होती है, खाना बिल्कुल टाइम पे बनता है, सबके टिफिन पैक हो जाते हैं, घर साफ सुथरा मिलता है. All that is also leadership. So we are all leaders because we are self-leaders. We lead ourselves. So today we are going to talk about leadership at that level, that we are going to talk about how can we prepare for the corporate battlefield. And why do I say corporate battlefield? We'll just see why. It's my personal belief, after so many years of experiencing, 34 years of experiencing military leadership, and now I've been applying it in the corporate world for 20 years. So 54 years of leadership in the two different environments. I can tell you for sure that military leaders uniquely guide their teams through perilous terrains and extreme conditions, inspiring courage and resilience amidst constant risk. We don't have many Abhijits there to come and de-risk. So, management of risk is also a very important thing that a leader does. And a leader often takes very, very high-level risks. Okay, but they are all very, very calculated, very important risks, and they come with a lot of training and discipline and experience. This unparalleled responsibility that makes a military leader take its team into extremes of weather, terrain, and dangers, including death. I think no other leader does than an army leader. Am I right or not? And therefore, military leadership is considered to be the mother of all leaderships. Military leadership means that if you can influence and inspire. Marshall Goldsmith said, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. If you can influence and inspire people to follow you in war, don't you think you can influence them in anything else? So that is why we think that there's a lot to learn from the army. So now, yes, very comparison, if we see, in the military, we lead via mission. There are only two things that an army officer is taught right from the beginning of his training: accomplishment of mission at all costs and welfare of men. Only two things. And it's a very fine balance between the two, because if you look after too much of welfare, the mission doesn't get accomplished. And if you are too concerned about the mission, the people will not be cared for, and unhappy people will never be able to fight a war. So we have to have very satisfied and happy people to go into the battlefield. So you have to maintain, and these are the only two main tasks of an army or a military leader, to accomplish the mission at all costs. We don't have any second-rate thing. We don't say इस quarter में 60% हुआ है, अगले quarter में 70% कर लेंगे. हमारा इस क्वार्टर में अगर एक विडो हो गई तो अगले क्वार्टर में भी विडो रहती है, वो सारी लाइफ विडो रहती है. Our risks are very heavy. So therefore, in the army we have systems where we can't make mistakes. You can't say गलती हो गई, आपकी एक गलती से 10 लोग मारे जाएंगे, नहीं कर सकते हैं. Our system in the gunnery, in the tanks, is so foolproof that there are checks and balances to make sure that you don't make mistakes. In the corporate, you can't do it. In the corporate, people lead via money. Profit is the only thing. In business, everyone works towards one thing, and that is profit. Okay, so the whole idea is different. It's not wrong. It's certainly not wrong, because the business are meant to be creating profit. So I'm not saying ki, why don't the corporate people have missions like the army? No, they don't. They don't need to. That's not their job. They're not meant for it. Okay, but I'm saying that you should just understand that that is a difference. Okay, we have everything internal. We don't import people from other armies and all. We have our own people. It's all internal. Whereas the corporate influences other people. You are dealing with customers all the time. You're not dealing with enemy all the time. Okay, so there is a lot of difference there. There's a culture that the leadership begins when you join, whether if you're a Jawan as a leader, sorry, as a recruit, when you're officer, as a cadet, leadership starts from day one. There is no such culture in the corporate. Promotions in the army are from within, whereas in corporate, you can even import, or you can even get a new CEO. And that doesn't happen in the army. But it does happen once in a while, where only a person may be shifted from one battalion to the other, but generally not. There's a deep human culture. We have human values more than, where we don't talk about colleagues. We don't say he's my colleague. We say he's my brother. We are brothers and sisters. We are not colleagues. We don't just know each other. We don't bond with each other. We bond as families. In the army, in a unit, you will find one officer's wife knows another officer's wife. One officer's children know another officer's children. That is the way. Trust is a very important thing in the army. I don't have time, but I could tell you that there is a video of Simon Sinek where he tells you that in the army, when people are recruited, our thing is that we will take a high, everyone wants a person who's a high trust, high performance person. Everyone wants that. But you don't get such people easily. The next is when you say, okay, I want high performance, low trust. Army doesn't take that. Army says, I'm prepared to accept a low performance, high trust person to a high performance, low trust person. Our whole selection is based on psychological stuff. Our SSBs and all, they are psychological people. The tests go through such a thing that you know whether you can trust this person or not. There is no such phenomena. There's nothing in the corporate recruitment where even trust is a factor to be considered. Okay. And motivation and inspiration are the ones that drive the army, whereas buying and selling and profits help the corporate. Simon Sinek, and I'm very, very fond of him. And if you are not, please listen to some of his talks. He's got a talk called Golden Circle, which is a must watch for everyone. It's a very famous TEDx talk called the title of the talk is not this, but in that he has talked about the Golden Circle. Right. So what he says, and I want to just quote him, that military is not better than business. It's different. There's no comparison. But why we learn military leadership is because in the army, the lessons that you learn from operations and all are very easy to understand because the stakes are very high. What is good is very good. What is bad is really bad. Because it's so exaggerated, the results are easier to comprehend and it's easier to understand. And that is why military leadership has lots to teach. Human connection versus technology. I told you here, we don't, of course, we have technology. Every weapon is a technology and all, but we can't depend too much on technology. Yesterday, I was talking to one of my youngsters who's now a major in the Valley, and he was telling me how technology, whatever weapons we have, is failing us in that terrain, and the way the Pakistani militants who actually have mujahideens from Afghanistan, who have weapons from the American weapons which they left in Afghanistan. Those weapons are being used against us. They're far more accurate, they're far more powerful, and the tactics that they're using and the terrain that they are using, our weapons are not really as effective. But Indian Army is still managing it. Okay. So let's go forward. Now, I want to just share with you a very, very simple thing, which will be very easily understandable. I think there's somebody who's made these beautiful red lines. Can you please, somebody has used annotating there. Can the host disable that feature, please? Okay. So
Yes, just
I am coming to a very simple principle which we learn in the army, and I thought that is applicable to everyone, everywhere. Not only whether you are in the corporate, whether you are in your own professional work, you may be running your own business, everywhere it's applicable. And that is a process that we use, and I'm going to tell you that process. But before I do that, ladies and gentlemen, tell me, how many of you, and please again, raise your hands. I really wanted, and I thought somebody was from the, was telling you, please come on the camera. I only see 3 people on the camera. Let me tell you, it is not very encouraging to be talking to black screens with white names on them. And particularly when the name is iPhone 10 and all that, wo aa jata hai screen ke upar. I want to see your smiling faces early in the morning. And I also know I want to see whether you are awake or sleepy like me. Okay, right. So I want to ask you, raise your hand electronically or on the video if you agree with me that the Indian Army goes into the war fully prepared. The planning is done to the last T. We know every little thing. We know कितना ammunition चाहिए, कौन सी arms चाहिए, कौन सी गाड़ी में है, कहाँ पड़ी है, कितने बजे जाएंगे, कितने बजे. Everything is known, planned. How many of you agree that we go very planned in the Indian Army?
No, you don't go planned. You plan
No.
afterward.
No. We go very planned. I'll tell you that today, I'm from ASC. हमारी peace time में आपको 11 बजे बोला जाएगा, okay, op alert. I want the convoy to be ready in half an hour. हमारी we are ready to move for war in half an hour's notice. हमारी गाड़ी में क्या टूल्स होंगे, किसके पास कितना खाना होगा, कहाँ होगा, ये हमारी ट्रेनिंग है. So we go absolutely planned to the last extent. You can't imagine the degree and the details we are planned for. And we have planned A, B and C. ये हो गया तो ये होगा, ये हो गया तो ये हो गया. हर जवान को पता है उसके पैक में 21 चीजें होनी है. उसको वो 21 चीजें रटी हुई हैं. वो अपना बैग पैक करता है 5 मिनट में. 1, 2, 3, 4, 21 things he counts. We go planned, absolutely.
Sir, I misunderstood then. You are right. That way you are planned. मतलब कभी आपको emergency alert होता है, आप कुछ जाते नहीं.
So now I'm going to tell you that this planning goes to the last T, very, very beautifully planned. And when we go into that plan, when we want to execute, there are 3 questions. And all of you who are interested may write them down. ये आपकी जिंदगी में हर जगह काम आ जाएंगे. चाहे फुटबॉल मैच ऑर्गेनाइज कर रहे हैं, चाहे आप अपनी बेटी की शादी ऑर्गेनाइज कर रहे हैं, कोई भी काम करते हैं, any task that you do, ask yourself 3 questions. What is my task? What is my mission? पहला काम, what is my mission? पूछिए मेरा टास्क क्या है, मेरे को टास्क क्लियर पता है कि नहीं. अगर आपको टास्क क्लियरली नहीं पता, जो आपको हुक्म दे रहा है उसे पूछिए जाके, और डबल चेक कीजिए कि सर आई हैव अंडरस्टूड दैट आई एम रिक्वायर्ड टू डू दिस एंड द एंड रिजल्ट शुड बी दिस. एम आई राइट? ताकि जो नॉर्मली होता है ह्यूमन बींग्स में, सर आई थॉट यू सेड दिस. बच्चे भी बोलते हैं ना, मम्मी आई थॉट यू सेड दिस. होता है कि नहीं होता?
Yes, yes, yes.
So please clarify. Okay. So what is my task is to be understood before you start implementing. Because अगर आपको टास्क क्लियर पता नहीं है और आप उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करना शुरू कर देंगे, उसके रिजल्ट तो कभी ठीक आएंगे ही नहीं, बिकॉज आपको पता ही नहीं था जाना कहाँ है. आप तो अंदाजे से चल पड़े थे, आपको अपना गोल तो पता ही नहीं था. अब बॉल लेके जा रहे हो लेकिन पता ही नहीं गोल पोस्ट का है. तो व्हाट इज माय टास्क इज द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. सेकंड क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट डज इट इन्वॉल्व. तो एक लिस्ट बनाते हैं फटाफट. मेरे को कॉन्वे में जाना है, मेरे को उसमें क्या इन्वॉल्व है, मेरी गाड़ियां तैयार होनी चाहिए, उनमें फ्यूल होना चाहिए, उनमें ये वो सारा कुछ लिखा हुआ है. और सबके ना ड्रिल्स होते हैं, उसके स्टेप्स होते हैं 1 2 3 4 5. एवरीवन नोज. हमारा एक बड़ा क्वेश्चन है कि जब हम राइफल में बुलेट लोड करते हैं, फिर जब उसको अनलोड करते हैं तो वो जो खोखा होता है वो बाहर निकलता है, तो वो खोखा गिर जाता है. in war we don't care about it, but in peace we collect it, because वो brass है, it goes back into the ordnance. We don't let it be wasted. तो वो पाउच में जहां एम्युनिशन रखा होता है, हम बोलते हैं कि खाली कर की कार्रवाई, आखिरी कार्रवाई क्या है? खाली कर की आखिरी कार्रवाई है पाउच का बटन बंद. That means our processes are known. So what does it involve? So what is my task? So अगर मैं कह रहा हूं कि हमने शादी ऑर्गेनाइज करनी है, what does it involve? It involves कि पहले मैं वेन्यू बुक करूंगा, पहले मैं डेट, मेरे को पंडित जी से डेट पूछना है, फिर मेरे को वेन्यू ऑर्गेनाइज करना है, फिर मेरे को वहां बैंड ऑर्गेनाइज करना है, फिर मेरे को यहाँ ये करना है, वो करना है. वो लिस्ट बन जाती है कि हमको इन्विटेशन कार्ड प्रिंट करने हैं. What does it involve? And the third thing is, how can I plan now? तो आप अपनी बेटी की शादी कर रहे हैं, तो आप अपने ग्रैंड चिल्ड्रन का तो उस टाइम नहीं प्लान करेंगे ना. हाउ फार कैन आई प्लान नाउ? आई कैन ओनली प्लान द मैरिज राइट नाउ. ओके. अगर अभी खाली एंगेजमेंट हुई है तो आई कैन फर्स्ट ओनली मेक श्योर दैट द एंगेजमेंट इज डन प्रॉपर्ली, विद आई विल प्लान फॉर द मैरिज लेटर. Even if the plan is known to you, but you don't focus on that plan. So these three questions help you to do any task properly. What is my task? What does it involve? How far can I plan now? Now we all agreed that we go into the war totally prepared, 100%. But what if I tell you that these plans last only till the contact with the enemy is made? And when the contact with the enemy is made, there's total chaos. Why? Because आपका प्लान आपको पता है, लेकिन एनिमी का प्लान नहीं पता है. आपको पता है आप चेस के ऊपर क्या चाल चल रहे हैं, लेकिन आपको दुश्मन की चाल नहीं पता है. तो अब उस क्योस में क्या होता है? We in our leadership are taught right from the beginning how to handle chaos. आपको भी अपनी जिंदगी में सीखना है how to handle chaos. कोविड हो गया, chaos. फ्लाइट मिस हो गई, chaos. घर की चाबी गुम हो गई, chaos. जो chaos होता है लाइफ में, उसको कैसे डील करना है, that is what we are taught. How are we taught? We are trained for it. Are you training yourself for it? जो लोग कॉर्पोरेट में थे, बिजनेसेस में थे, जिन्होंने अपनी कंपनीज में लोगों को ट्रेन कर रखा था, जिन्होंने अपने आप को अच्छी तरह लीडरशिप में ट्रेन कर रखा था, जिनके पास पैसे थे, जिनको पता था कि 6 महीने का टर्नओवर होना चाहिए हमारे पास, उनकी कंपनियां चलती रही. और कई लोगों की कंपनियां 2-3 महीने में बंद हो गई. Why? Were they trained for it? Okay, were they prepared for it? So we have to be trained to handle chaos. And then we have to prepare. We have to prepare for the uncertain. We have to prepare for the unknown. कल क्या हो सकता है? And I'm going to tell you a little later how leaders plan ahead of what is happening right now. आगे की सोच के करते हैं, foresight होती है. Foresight होती है vision आगे की, right? So we break our task into small tasks, which I think everyone does, even in the corporate we do. We must break a big task into small tasks and then achieve our sub goals. And that is done by a lot of rehearsals, a lot of mock practices, so that when it actually happens, you are able to handle it. So I am going to be talking about 5 top leadership traits today. And I have chosen them from the point of view of the audience that is today. I spoke on the same subject in IIT Varanasi day for yesterday, rather on 15th. There they were different because I picked up the military lessons which are applicable to students. But today I picked up military lessons that are applicable to CAs in particular, but everyone in general. So even if you're not a CA, they're applicable to you. Okay, right. First is that you must have an aim clear. And we are going to go into these details later. We must have aim clear, right? Second is, we must have a strategic thinking. We have to think far ahead, right? Oh my God, I think something's gone wrong. Okay. We must have discipline. I'm going to be talking about discipline. All of us need to have. What is discipline is not so important. I talk about self-discipline. And what is self-discipline? Self-discipline is doing what you ought to do. पता है आपको ये करना है. आपको पता है आपको रेड लाइट क्रॉस नहीं करनी है. आपको पता है आपको फ्रॉड नहीं करना है. आपको पता है आपको आज का काम आज कंप्लीट करना है. Doing what you ought to do. जो मेरा आज का काम है, जो मेरा इस हफ्ते का काम है, am I doing it? So self-discipline is doing what you ought to do even when you don't feel like doing it, and even when nobody's watching you. You know that you need to go to the gym to take care of your health. But when you don't feel like getting up in the morning, self-discipline is when you tell yourself, no, even if I don't feel like going, I have to go. Self-discipline is that when you put an alarm at 6 o'clock, you get up at 6 o'clock. But we are all generally lacking that self-discipline. हम 6 बजे का अलार्म लगाते हैं और आजकल हमको मैन्युफैक्चरर ने, पहले अलार्म क्लॉक में नहीं होता था, लेकिन आजकल हमारे फोन में एक स्नूज है. 6 बजे का अलार्म लगाते हैं, उसको स्नूज कर देते हैं, फिर 15 मिनट के लिए स्नूज हो जाता है और करते करते हम 6:45 बजे उठते हैं. Can somebody tell me that if you put an alarm for 6 o'clock and get up at 6:45, what have you lost? What have you lost? Quickly, somebody unmute and tell me, what have you lost?
Discipline and time.
Very good. Discipline and time. Okay. So you have lost 45 minutes, so theek hai. But what you have really lost more than discipline? Tamra?
Self-respect.
Disrespect. How sweet. That is the right answer. That you have stopped respecting yourself. You have given permission to yourself to disobey yourself. आप बोलते हो मैं जो बोलता हूं उसकी कोई परवाह नहीं. आप क्यों नहीं सुबह रात को ही 6:45 का अलार्म लगाते हैं? आपने बोला मैं 6 बजे उठूंगा, आप उठे 6:45 बजे. I really speaking lose my self-esteem, right? So the next one is adaptability. And the last one we're going to talk about is risk management. How do we manage risks? How do we do it in the army? How do you do that? Everyone has risks. ये business चलेगा कि नहीं चलेगा? ये target achieve होगा कि नहीं होगा? Should I launch this new product? It's a risk if I launch it at this time. किस time product launch करना है? Is it the right time or not? All that goes into this. So we are going to talk about this in a little more detail. But I think the slide has come up at the wrong time. Just so sorry. Just a minute. Let me just finish. Okay. Now I want to tell you one of the things that is very important in the army is the selflessness. बोलते हैं leadership का सबसे important काम है selflessness. I will not do anything for myself. I'll do for my organization. मेरा पर्सनल इंटरेस्ट नहीं आना चाहिए. माई इंटरेस्ट शुड नॉट बी अबव द ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल इंटरेस्ट. इसमें मेरा क्या फायदा हो रहा है. वी मस्ट ऑलवेज थिंक मेरी कंपनी का क्या फायदा हो, और मैं अपनी कंपनी के लिए जो भी कर सकता हूं करना चाहिए. सो General Chetwood was the first commandant of Indian Military Academy, and when the first course passed out, in the passing out speech, he told them that, remember, gentlemen, the safety, honor, and welfare of my country will always come first. Always and every time. The honor, welfare, and progress. I've actually made this, sorry. This is, I'm sorry, I've got the wrong slide. This was converted for a college, but just imagine, we say the honor, welfare, and comfort of my men come next, and my own ease, comfort, and safety come last, always and every time. My apologies for this wrong slide that has come up. Okay. This slide again actually has come out. I'm so sorry. These slides have really come at the wrong time. Let me just go back. There's something gone wrong for sure. Okay. No, sorry. I think I'll start from here again. I'm little, it's already 8 o'clock. Okay. So then, really speaking, without going into too many details, I've told you the 5 lessons that you can really apply. So if I was to just say, I just repeat them for you all. Just a minute. Okay. Here we go. So what I said was the main 5 lessons which you can apply is that you must clearly know why you're doing what you're doing. You must have a clear vision, and a leader not prepares for today, he prepares for tomorrow. He must operate ahead of the predictability curve. हमको पता है कि कल क्या हो सकता है. Are we going ahead of it? Today, I should be planning for the next year, because I know that as per the trends, the market is going to be like this. These are the risks that are coming up. Am I prepared for that? So your aim should be very clear. Your strategic thinking, because a leader must think from the top. He must have a bird's eye view. People say, why do you have a better vision as a leader? Because you have elevated yourself by experience, just the way that a person who's in a helicopter has a better vision of the ground than a person on the ground himself. Discipline, I've told you. Adaptability. We have different situations coming up, and we should be mentally and physically and emotionally and spiritually prepared to adapt to the new situation and accept things as they come. It is something like playing cricket. You should be prepared to play any type of ball that's coming, right? And then I should be prepared as a leader to take risks. And when I take risks in the army, we say, I cannot risk the life of my men. So I keep their safety in mind and yet take risks. Okay. We don't have time to tell you how, but that is the way it should be done. And then these were 5 more things that I wanted to talk about. And I just said, you have to work as teams. You can't do anything alone. Trust is the most important glue that binds people together. I just told you about selflessness. If I have time, I would say that in the corporate world, I found, and that's why I wrote this book called $1 Million Second, time management is a big issue in the corporate world. More of it whenever we have time. Integrity and ethics. Now, I don't know which one is more important than what, because I feel that everyone in their leadership role can pick up what is more important, because they can't say universally that this is more important than that, right? So now I come to the end of it and say, any questions? Any questions? Please unmute yourselves, and I'll just have a look if there's something in the chat box.
Thank you, sir. It was really wonderful lessons from military. And I would request audience to ask their questions from sir, whatever questions you have. So we would like to hear a little bit about your journey.
So, I'll tell you, I went through lots of ups and downs, lots and lots of ups and downs. So I was a very young boy when I decided, nobody in my army, in my family, for many generations had been in the army. I'm the first one ever. And I don't see anyone in the near future, at least जितने मेरे nephews, nieces हैं, कोई भी army की तरफ जा नहीं रहा. So I don't think there was anyone before me. I don't know when, at least in the next 15, 20 years, there'll be nobody from my family in the army, I'm very sure. So for me, I went into a scenic school. At the age of 10, I was wearing khaki uniform, doing PT in the morning, parade and all that. वो हमारी life में शुरू हो गया, discipline शुरू हो गया very early in life. I was so focused on joining the army that I had no second choice, which is the wrong thing. Today, I tell the youngsters, you must have a second choice. Because what happened with me was, I could not go to NDA with my batch because I was underage. So my batchmates could go in June, whereas I had to wait till December because I'm born in December. So I became 15 only in December. And only when I become 15 can I join the NDA. In those days, now it is 16 and a half. So, मेरे पास 5 chances है. NDA gives you 5 years and my age permitted all the 5 years. So 5 chances. So I used to say कि यार मैं 5 बार ही तो fail नहीं हो सकता. Don't worry about this. 1 बार हो जाऊंगा, 2 बार हो जाऊंगा, 3 बार हो जाऊंगा, 5 बार ही fail नहीं हो जाऊंगा. But when I went and we were totally focused. Everyone in Scenic School only thought of joining the NDA. और जो पास होता था, I was amongst the first few batches. The school started in 61, I joined in 62. So only 2 batches passed out before me. When those people used to get selected for NDA, हम कहते हैं, how lucky यार. मैं अगर मेरे को NDA मिल गया तो बस जिंदगी में और कुछ नहीं चाहिए. I'm telling you, I used to go and tell God कि मैं आपसे कभी जिंदगी में दोबारा कुछ मांगूंगा नहीं अगर मेरे को आपने NDA दे दिया. तो NDA इतनी जो चीज थी, चाहिए थी. What really happened was, I got through in the first chance in the written exam. I went for SSB, I got through in the first chance. अब क्या problem है? घर में भी telegram दे दी, school में भी telegram दे दी, selected. And telegram was the only way you could do it. I was on top of the world. Next day, my cousin was coming to Meerut, that is where the SSB was, and he was to drive me back from Meerut to Ghaziabad, where my parents had come from Shimla. And imagine what happened when my cousin came, he found me crying. He said, what happened? I said, I've been rejected permanently medically. I didn't even imagine I used to be a cross-country runner, but मेरे को कुछ पाँव में कुछ होता है उसके लिए रिजेक्ट कर दिया. मेरे लिए सारी दुनिया बंद हो गई बिकॉज आर्मी के अलावा सोचा नहीं था और ये तो परमानेंट रिजेक्शन हो गई. वो 5 के 5 चांस एक ही झटके में गए. But then, long story short, God was kind. I appealed in the medical board. I got through. I went to the NDA in my very first chance. I got commissioned at the age of 19. I haven't seen an officer younger than me on his date of commission ever. अभी तक नहीं मैंने देखा कोई. होगा कोई, but I don't know. Right? And then I was all set to join the infantry. I went to the infantry. Backache शुरू हो गई. And within 5 years, I had to change from infantry to ASC because of my medical condition, because of my backache. Then I went through a lot of chaos. The chaos was that the doctors told me this is a lifelong problem. एक डॉक्टर ने मेरे को 21 साल की उम्र में बोला कि should I tell you a cure, sure cure for your backache? Now a doctor tells you, yes, doctor, please tell me. He says, learn to live with it. That is the cure. Learn to live with it. ये तो पूरी जिंदगी रहेगी आपकी. मेरे को इतना गुस्सा आया, मेरा दिल करे मैं बंदे को थप्पड़ मारूं. How the hell at 21 you're going to tell me that I have to live this life? No. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how God gives you that power, how things happen. It is my willpower, it was my yoga, it was my nature cure. मैंने कहा मैं ये हार मानने वाला नहीं हूं कि मैं 21 साल की उम्र में बोल दूं कि मैं लाइफ लॉन्ग बैकएक का पेशेंट हूं और मैं खड़ा भी नहीं हो सकता. So I had to come to ASC because I was not fit enough for infantry. But in the ASC, I started doing very well. One after another, I did. I topped the courses. I got alphas and all that. I started doing very well. When I became a brigadier, I was a brigadier for 8 years. But in the 6th year, in 2002, I got posted to Bareilly. And in Bareilly, I was told you'll be the chairman of Army School. My life changed again because I was told this Army School is in a bad shape. और मेरे को लगा कि this Army School requires my attention more than anything else. तो मैं अपना काम बाद में करता था. मैं स्कूल हर दिन जाता था और हमने वो स्कूल बदली कर दिया. मेरे को वहां से बच्चों से इतना प्यार मिला, इतनी रिस्पेक्ट मिली, that I decided not to continue and sacrifice my general's rank. I could have easily retired as a lieutenant general. But these children motivated me to shift gears, and I said, I am going to now leave the army and dedicate the rest of my life to training. I came out of the army and wanted to start my own school. School was very expensive. I had built a house in Gurgaon. I was supposed to be settling down there. But because we had an agricultural land on the Bombay-Goa highway, we decided to make a camp instead of, so we started an adventure camp. So life changed. पूरा track change हो गया. So army 5 साल पहले छोड़ दी और उसके बाद 20 साल से अभी training कर रहा हूँ. Now again, here also there were lots of ups and downs, but we don't have time. If all of you have the time, there is a TEDx talk which talks about this. क्या हुआ, कैसे, why did I leave the army? How did I find the purpose of my life at the age of 52? I did B.Ed at the age of 52 because I'm entering education. लोग बोलेंगे तुम तो आर्मी के हो, तुम्हें एजुकेशन का क्या पता है? तो मेरे विजिटिंग कार्ड के ऊपर B.Ed लिखा होना चाहिए, इसलिए मैंने B.Ed की 52 years की एज में. I tell people, find the purpose of your life and live the purpose. So anyway, that is all what I can tell you. There are 2 Josh talks. One of them talks again because people say tell army experiences. So that's an army experience of how I supported an operation in Udhampur where people were dying. They were hungry and how we supported them when Jawar Tunnel was closed and for 14 days the national highway was blocked. बर्फ पड़ी हुई थी, गाड़ियां फंसी हुई थी, लोगों के पास खाना पीना नहीं था. हाउ वी सपोर्टेड देम. सो वो कहानी है ऑन जोश टॉक्स. Okay, so thank you. I think I've already taken, because when you know Shivani, people tell me something about you in the army. This is the least I can tell you because 73
Yes, sir.
years की story है, वो 1 minute में बतानी मुश्किल है.
Right. So we would definitely love to watch your talk. So you can share the links with me
I'll
and
share the links
share
with
with
you.
the community.
Yeah. Okay,
So
there was
floor
one
is
more
open for
person where I saw
questions.
2 more people raising hands. Anyone else wants to ask a question?
Yeah.
It's your time was a problem. I don't have any problem till 9 o'clock.
Okay. Okay. So I hope audience also don't have any problem. Those who have to go somewhere, they may leave.
Sir, I'm having one question.
Yeah, please go
Yes,
ahead.
please.
Your
Good
name
morning,
first,
sir.
please.
Barkha Mehta.
Okay, yes, Barkha, tell me.
Yeah, a very good morning, sir.
Thank
Sir,
you.
can you please elaborate more on risk management, the 5th leadership trait? Because, like, I'm a school teacher. I am a PRT computer science teacher, and I am a BTech engineering graduate. But I joined school as my purpose, as I was passionate towards teaching only. So, sir, I just want to ask that you you told all of us regarding risk management as a leadership trait. Like, if I aim to be a leader of my school in the coming years, then what are the risks involved and how should I tackle that? Like,
Thank
suppose
you
if I
very much,
invest in
Barkha.
mutual fund also, if I start investing in mutual fund also, then how should I plan? Like, what should I do, like, in
Okay.
this?
So these answers can best be given by my friend Abhijit. I think he is an expert on this. So I'll tell you what I'm going to tell you. When I talk of risk management, I am not talking of financial risk management. I'm talking about what risks are you going to take in your life. So firstly, Barkha, I must congratulate you. I really love that idea that an engineer becomes a teacher because 90% teachers, I have been in this education world now for 20 years. after my 3 years of experience in the army school. So sorry, 2 years. So that means 22 years I've been dealing with, and I must tell you that I have done an education leadership program, education leadership, where I used to tell a principal of a school that you are not a senior teacher now. You are actually a CEO of that school. You do everything that the CEO of a company does. You do financial management. You are the CFO of your company because all the accounts are handled by the principal. You are doing HR. You are doing operations. You are doing admin. You are doing everything that a CEO does, you are doing, including R&D. Okay. आप जो नया syllabus बनाते हो, that's R&D. नए नए principles और नए नए topics लेके आने हैं, that is L&D, R&D. Okay. So I have been fortunate to do about 4,000 teachers must have gone through teachers training program with me. More than 1 lakh students have gone through my programs. Actually, now the counting is infinite because I don't even know, because my podcast for children is there. How many children have listened to that podcast and been impacted, I don't even know. Okay. So, अभी मैं आपको बताता हूँ कि one day I was doing a teachers training program with one school in Surat where I did 10 months. I used to go every month and do 1 day's training. So there I did teachers training in a very beautiful way over 10 months. तो वहां पे मैंने एक एक्टिविटी कराई, and this will make you understand, Barka, exactly what I say. I made them do an activity where you have split pipes and you have a marble. और आपको मार्बल एक साइड से डालना है और वो मार्बल दूसरे की पाइप में जाना चाहिए जो पाइप टच नहीं कर सकती है. सो आपको उसको अलाइन करना है, वहां मार्बल गिरेगा और मार्बल चलता रहना चाहिए, मार्बल रुकना नहीं चाहिए. सो मार्बल पीछे नहीं जा सकता है, रुक नहीं जा सकता, आगे ही जाएगा. और जो मार्बल गिर जाता है आपको फिर वापस जाके स्टार्ट करना है. तो ये एक्टिविटी हुई. मैंने इनको बोला कि बताओ मेरे को, आई नॉर्मली आस्क पीपल, हाउ मेनी मार्बल्स विल यू बी एबल टू transfer from point A to point B in 30 minutes. So the answers are something like 15, 20 and all that. But जब रिजल्ट देखने शुरू किए 30 मिनट के बाद रिजल्ट नहीं आ रहे. रिजल्ट क्या थे? 4 टीम्स थी, 3 marbles, 2 marbles, 0 marbles, 4 marbles, 3 marbles, बस. तो जब मैंने उनकी डीब्रीफिंग की तो मैं कहा दिस मार्बल वाज अ चाइल्ड. द फर्स्ट पर्सन वाज द नर्सरी क्लास टीचर. अगर उसकी पाइप से ठीक बच्चा निकल के फर्स्ट क्लास में पहुंच गया तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, फिर वो आगे गया. लेकिन अगर वहां से वो गिर गया, इसका मतलब बच्चा फेल हो गया. मीन्स यू डिड नॉट डू दैट, सेकंड पर्सन डिड नॉट डू द जॉब एंड यू फेल्ड आउट, एंड देन दैट पर्सन हैड टू रिपीट द क्लास. दैट मीन्स आपके कितने सक्सेसफुल बच्चे हुए जो 10th क्लास में, जो 12th क्लास में पास हो गए. When I told this, there were at least 3 teachers who really had tears in their eyes. And they said, sir, आपने हमको आज शीशा दिखा दी. The risk, I told people that everyone in that school was blaming only the 12th class teachers for the bad results that they had previous year. And I told them every teacher is responsible for this bad, because अगर मेरे को 12वीं क्लास में आपने एक बच्चा दे दिया जो 7th, 8th, 9th में ठीक नहीं करके आया, उसको मैं क्या कर सकता हूं? Now, are you taking a risk with children? Are you ruining their lives or are you making their lives? Barka, as a school leader, in a school, I want you to start thinking about it. And I love to have a one-to-one with you where I'll tell you more ways of how teachers have to manage their risk. आपका risk, आपका mutual fund का risk तो मेरे को नहीं पता. I'm very bad at that. So when I'm talking of risk management, it's not financial risk management. I'm talking as a leader. मेरे क्या risk थे कि मेरे जवान मरने नहीं चाहिए कैसे भी. मेरा ammunition कम से कम use होना चाहिए. ठीक है ना? तो how do I do it? So I know risk हम लेते हैं क्या? कि Second World War में what is his name? Sorry. Oh my God, how am I forgetting that name? Okay, चलो वो forget करते हैं. Let's say कारगिल की बात करते हैं जो सबने अपने ड्राइंग
Hitler. Adolf Hitler.
नहीं मैं हिटलर की बात ही नहीं कर रहा हूँ. नहीं, there was an admiral and he went in for Incheon landings where they say कि ये तो होना ही नहीं चाहिए. They say that if you write down the principles of what are the conditions under which of amphibious landing should not be done, Incheon has them all. जहां बिल्कुल सब डिसएडवांटेजेस वहां भी गए. क्यों? एक एडवांटेज थी, I'll surprise the enemy, that's the only way I can beat him. Can I take that risk? Everyone thought that risk was not taking, but this man was confident and they won the war only because of that risk that he took. In Kargil, if you follow it properly, capturing Tiger Hill was a big risk, but it had to be taken. How did they manage it? What all did they do to first, first, it was ki Air Force use kare ki nahi kare. And the Air Force was used right in the end. If you study that in details, and I'll tell you, after the 25 years of Kargil, there are beautiful videos on YouTube. Please देखो जाके. इतना अच्छा explain किया लोगों ने, हिंदी में, English में, at different levels people have explained how difficult was the terrain, how difficult was the weather, what risks people took. So when we talk of risk management, we are talking about risking our leadership में हम अपने teams के लिए, अपनी company के लिए क्या risk ले सकते हैं. ये product launch करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना चाहिए. ये बच्चे को कौन सी स्ट्रीम में जाना चाहिए. मैं क्या करूं ताकि ये बच्चा फेल ना हो जाए. मेरे को बहुत भारी रिस्क है, मेरे को पता है मेरी क्लास में ये 2 बच्चे पक्का फेल हो जाएंगे. Can I take a risk of making them do something that people don't do? Maybe teach them from another book. Maybe teach them something that is not in my syllabus. मैं कुछ उसको ऐसा कराऊं कि रिस्क है, पास हो गए तो बहुत अच्छे पास होंगे, नहीं तो फेल हो जाएंगे. But I'm so confident about my principle that I'm going to teach them कि लगता है इससे इनको इंटरेस्ट आ जाएगा इस सब्जेक्ट में. ये बच्चा मैथ्स में फेल होता है, मैं इसको मैथ्स इस तरीके से सिखा दूं. I know of a professor who used to teach maths with poems. Okay. So what I'm trying to say, this is when we say risk management, wherever you are, in whichever field you are, घर में, you are a homemaker. घर में what risk do you take? ठीक है.
Okay, sir.
कहाँ पे आपकी फर्स्ट एड पड़ी है, कहाँ पे, like what you do to de-risk कि मेरे को अगर कोई बर्न हो जाए गैस के पास तो मेरे बर्नॉल किचन में ही पड़े. De-risking, that is what I've learned this word from Abhijit only. So you de-risk means that you know that there's a risk कि मेरा हाथ जल सकता है. How do I prevent that? तो आपने बचपन में सीख लिया ना कि आग में हाथ कैसे नहीं जाना चाहिए, गरम बर्तन को हाथ कैसे नहीं लगना चाहिए. So that is the way we are talking about risks.
Okay, sir.
I hope I'm clear, Barkha.
Thank you, sir. Thank
And
you,
you are
sir.
welcome to talk to me on this. I can tell you lots because I don't have a count of the schools, but I do have a count of generally 4,000 to 5,000 teachers that must have been trained by me.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Sujata ji, you can go ahead.
Sir, good morning. Your session was really wonderful, sir.
Thank
you
you.
so much. So I have a question here. When we are in a group, like, you're heading a team or you're heading a army of people, I'm not talking about the military style of people here. In general, in corporate world or any other group of people, when we as a leader, it is very difficult for us to manage the time. Yes, you may be disciplined as a leader, but the followers or others are not aligned with time management or discipline in keeping up the time, punctuality. If that being the case, how do we take the team along. We cannot be too strict because in a group activity, say for example, in today's meeting, it was supposed to end at say 8:15. It so happens that it goes till 8:30. We cannot be so strict. So how do we enforce, or when we do very particular, or when we are very particular about time in ending and or starting, people take it, call you as a very strict leader or a very selfish person or whatever. If that being the case, how to balance, sir?
Okay, so very good question. Very good question. And there are 2-3 things that come straight away to my mind. One, before even I come to your question, Sujata, if you permit me, let me say,
Yes, sir.
in your question, you use the word group and teams a couple of times.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Most people have a marketing group and they call it a marketing team. Okay. We must understand the difference between a group and a team. If there are 20 people going in a bus, they are a group or a team? Tell me.
It's a group.
It's a group. But अगर वो बस का accident हो जाए and one person gets badly injured, then immediately a lady offers her dupatta to tie up as a bandage. Somebody goes and gets him water. There's another person who rings up for the ambulance and all that. And then they get that person to the hospital. Now, is it a group or a team?
The group turns into a team.
The group turned into a team. Very good. Why? Because they had a common purpose. The purpose was to take the boy to the hospital. हम लोग 12 लोग recruit कर देंगे in that marketing, and we say the marketing team is doing this. And I tell people, please don't call them teams till you convert them into teams. So हमारा काम क्या है, as a trainer now, I make sure that I create high performing teams. And high performing teams are created after training. They are not, अगर आप कोई, actually you can pick up let's say you pick up India's best 11 cricket players. Best, undoubtedly. And put them on the field, will they win a match? They will not. Because they are skilled people, but they are not formed a team because they are not meshed with each other. आपका अभी हनीमून नहीं हुआ है. हनीमून में क्या है? अंडरस्टैंडिंग ईच अदर. एक ऑटोमोबाइल में बोलते हैं कि पहले होता था, आजकल नहीं होता इतना, रनिंग इन पीरियड. दे यूज्ड टू टेल अस कि पहले 1000 किलोमीटर्स यू विल नॉट रन द कार मोर देन 45 kilometers per hour. Why? Because the engine parts are getting meshed with each other. वो जो गियर एक दूसरे में फंसते हैं, उनकी बड़ी आवाज आती है, तो उनको थोड़ा एडजस्टमेंट के लिए टाइम चाहिए. Exactly the way we go for a honeymoon is we want to adjust to each other. We want to understand because they are two different human beings. Similarly, when you have different human beings, so why does a team train for 1 year to become a team? Why? Because they get adjusted to each other. They understand each other. So that is the first part. The second part is, now you talked about the time management. So first you must understand that in your company, wherever you are, if you are reporting, because all of us are generally both, we are leaders and followers. If I report into somebody, I'm a follower, that person is a leader. And if there are two people reporting to me, I'm a leader for those two people. So you are always doing a dual task of being a leader and a follower, and a good leader is always a good follower. If you are not good, you are a good follower, you'll never know how to lead people. Now let's come to the time management. So firstly, coming to today, you know that we started late. Okay. So when we started late, I normally tell people, मेरा 1 घंटा आपने मेरे को दिया है. If you start late, you'll end it. Simple. Right? So I had from my side finished in 1 hour. Okay. And I do agree that there was a little chaos about my slides, which went a little awry, which took another 5 minutes to sort of wrap it up, which was because last night I landed up and I had so many training commitments that I had not had time to work on this. If I can really tell you the secret, you can see my eyes must be still red. I slept at 2:30. and got up at 6. Right? So in that, maybe there was some that I couldn't plan my time as well as I should have. But still, I finished it. And then I took permission that you want to. And we also said those who want to leave can leave. So this means, so normally in my time management, of course, people like Abhijit have heard so much about it. So I know Abhijit is still sitting here. I know why he's not getting bored and working out, because he has heard me 100 times. See, what happens is, now we have taken permission. Meri time management mein, I told you, my time is still available till 9. I told Shivani, aapki tarah, my time is available for people who want to learn. If a person has more time, he can stay on. So Shivani said na, that you can leave if you want to. Officially, the class is over. Now I'll tell you, when I came into the army, into the corporate world, I found that nobody was following time. I had this training camp. जो कंपनी बोलती थी हम 9 बजे पहुंचेंगे, वो 10 बजे तो पहुंचते थे. पर शाम को 5 बजे जाना है तो वो एग्जैक्टली 5 o'clock they want to leave. तो इंडिया में जो है ना, पंक्चुअलिटी इज एट 5 o'clock in the evening. मैं 5 बजे घर चले जाऊंगा, आधा घंटा लेट आऊंगा, उसका मत पूछो. आने की पंक्चुअलिटी नहीं है, जाने की तो बहुत पंक्चुअलिटी है इंडिया में. 4:30 बजे पैक होना शुरू हो जाता है. भाई क्या कर रहे हो? आई एम प्रिपेयरिंग टू गो होम. जरा मैं अपना बस्ता पैक कर लूं और टिफिन शिफिन ले लूं, ये शुरू हो जाता है. So one day I called, there was a company, Wipro was coming for training. The type of work they wanted, I said, ये 2 दिन का काम है, 1 दिन में नहीं होगा. बोले सर हमारे पास 1 ही दिन है, हमारे पास 2 दिन है ही नहीं, और हम रात को नहीं आ सकते, हमारी शिफ्ट्स ऐसी हैं. So we will be there by 9 o'clock and we want to leave by 5 o'clock. I said टाइम बहुत inadequate है, particularly आप 9 बजे बोलते हो, अब 10 बजे आओगे. बोला सर you are talking to Wipro. I said okay, देख लेते हैं. There were 3 buses coming. The first bus was there at 8:45. The second bus was there 3 minutes later. The third bus was there another 2-3 minutes later. All the 3 buses had come by 8:50 or maybe 8:55. I found कि सबके पास एक ऐसे वो जो लैंडयार्ड में कार्ड होता है, सब पीछे पीछे देख रहे थे. मैंने कहा पीछे क्या है देखो, तो देखा पूरी आइटनरी लिखी हुई है वहां पे. And they were there exactly at 9 o'clock and they wanted to leave exactly at 5 o'clock. Because उनकी कंपनी में कल्चर है टाइम. Now the situation in this country is such that there's a Japanese company called CRB or something. Last year they called me and said that we want you to do a time management program for us, and we are a Japanese company based in India, right? And there's only one office in India, and that's in Bombay, and the headquarters in Tokyo. They have 3 people, including one director level person, 3 Japanese who are always here as a part of the organization. So I was called for a meeting. I met this Japanese, and the CEO of the company started by saying that my friend, Yuko, or whatever his name was, I don't remember, Japanese guy, he says that I have given up. In India, there can't be time management. I have given up. Because वो जापान में so time conscious और यहाँ पे time management का नाम नहीं है. तो उसने बोला कि हम 4 साल से ट्राई कर रहे हैं, मेरे 2 प्रेडिसेसर्स भी आके गए, अब मैं आ गया, हम 3 लोग लगे हुए हैं, लेकिन ये हमारे बस के बात, ये बंदे हमारे काम मतलब कंट्रोल में ही नहीं है. So we have come to a conclusion that in India you can't have time management. I said, okay, I'll take it as a challenge. But एक program में नहीं होगा. Give me at least 6 programs. Because इतना जादू तो नहीं है कि एक पिल खाओगे आज और कल से time management हो जाएगा. Anyway, so what I'm saying is that it is taken for granted in India that time management is difficult. But Wipro has it. I've seen 2-3 companies. Microsoft has it. उन companies में culture है time management. And that is why I take pride. I do lots of programs on time management. But unfortunately, Sujata, I'll tell you one thing. I started focusing on time management and soon left it. The reason is people don't want it. Nobody pays for it. They don't know it's so important. It is not time management, it is life management. It is not time management, it is work management. टाइम थोड़े मैनेज करते हो, टाइम तो उतना ही रहता है. टाइम तो तब मैनेज करते हैं अगर बोलते हैं कि आज मैं 22 घंटे काम कर लूंगा सो दैट टुमारो आई कैन वर्क फॉर 26 आवर्स. तब तो मैनेज होता टाइम. More of it in a time management workshop where I'll tell you I've got some, I talk of certain things on time management that nobody in the world talks about, and they are practical things. Like this one I told you. Like I say कि I know आज के जमाने में क्या होगा. तो मैं अब जो भी क्लास लेता हूं उसके आधे घंटे का बाद का टाइम मेरा उसका स्पेयर होता है. I don't do back to back. So I have catered for that contingency. अगर मेरे को कोई बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग सवाल पूछ रहा है और मैं बोलूं आई एम सॉरी लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन इट्स 9 o'clock आई एम लीविंग, आई थिंक एज अ ट्रेनर आई वुड हैव फेल्ड. सो मेरे को वो थोड़ी फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी रखनी पड़ती और रखनी चाहिए. सो आई टेल पीपल हाउ इन टुडेज वर्ल्ड यू शुड मैनेज टाइम. बिकॉज जो हमको जो पहले आइजनहावर मैट्रिक्स और ये वो सिखाए गए थे वो अभी एप्लीकेबल नहीं है आज की लाइफ में. सो टुडेज लाइफ टाइम मैनेजमेंट इज डिफरेंट. हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू वांट अ गिफ्ट ऑफ टाइम मैनेजमेंट? प्लीज रेज योर हैंड्स. I have got a video which is on time management, another one on goal setting, which was recorded for upgrade. Okay, they stopped that course, so I can give that as a gift. Otherwise, it was not supposed to be given by me to anyone because they were selling it for a high price. So I will send the link of both those talks to Shivani. I will also send you a link of my TEDx talks. I'll also send you the link of my podcast. और मेरी podcast में भी time management है. And this podcast is that the first book that I wrote, which you see on the left side of my screen, is Design Your Life. This is meant for children. That I wrote after my 17 years of experience with children, with students. And this book is full of stories, no theories. It's very good for children. If you have children at in that age group where they are growing, of course, there are many adults also who have found this book very useful. But you can get this book from Amazon and give it as a gift to your children. It is a better gift than giving them a dinner in McDonald's. It costs much less. जो बच्चों को बोलते हैं ना ये लो पैसे जाओ, have good time in McDonald's, eat all the junk food, give them this instead. Okay, so podcast है वो 48 episodes. It got converted. This book got converted into a podcast on Spotify called Zindagi Unplugged. और उसमें कोई यूथ जो आजकल चैलेंज फेस करते हैं कोई ऐसा चैलेंज नहीं होगा जो उसमें नहीं है. 48 episodes means about 40 subjects because some of them were part 1 and 2. So these are, you know, I give all this for free because I want to die empty. There's a book called Die Empty, which also says that the wealthiest place on the planet, I don't think, I ask everyone, I don't think you can guess it. The wealthiest place on the planet, they say, is the cremation ground or the graveyard. Because people leave so much of wealth there and go. I want to go to my cremation ground empty. मेरे पास जो है मैं छोड़ के जाऊं. So even if I am not in the world tomorrow, my podcast is still there. My YouTube videos will be there. मैं छोड़ के जाऊंगा सब कुछ. इसलिए जो मैं आज सीखता हूं कल सिखा देता हूं किसी को, कोई ना कोई वीडियो बना देता हूं ताकि मैं लेके नहीं जाऊं. आपको दे के जाऊंगा जितना दे के जाऊंगा. I only charge people for dedicated time when I do a training program for them or a coaching program for them. But if somebody calls me, I'm so accessible. People say, "Sir, आपसे जरा 10 मिनट ये पूछना है." I don't say. I've had people who have asked me. I only tell people when they take my call, and my call is 1,500 rupees an hour. किया है मैंने. I've taken some people's calls. I paid 1,500 rupees. I've never charged them. I have not sold my time for 1,500 rupees so far, but I can. But when I go and give a talk, I charge people and charge quite heavily.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I finished.
Thank you.
Sujata, did I answer your question?
Brigadier, can I ask my question?
Yeah, sure.
Yes,
Please.
please.
Yeah, I would like to know a few things. One thing is which perplexed me is the thing that in case the nowadays the people are so disillusioned, particularly with the social network and the WhatsApp and the Facebook. How do you handle these things, or how a person can handle this is misuse in the team?
Okay,
Maybe for army, maybe for the corporate culture also.
Okay, so again, now these are not things that have one-line answers. They have to be explained, but I'll quickly tell you that in a team, what I have to do, again, I'll bring from the army. In the army, when I train my people, I make them go for a run. They'll do at least a 10-mile run. They will end up at the firing range and fire. Okay, that means मेरे को इतनी concentration चाहिए कि आप 10 किलोमीटर भाग के आएंगे, सीधा फायरिंग रेंज पे जाएंगे और आपको 5 बुलेट दी जाएंगी, वो टारगेट पे होनी चाहिए. Are you still concentrated? So आपको अपने लोगों को ट्रेन करना है how they will not go on Instagram, how they will not use social media when they are working. In my time management, I tell individuals how you can, and I give a daily routine. I say in the morning when you get up, what should you do? So there's a daily routine in which if you plan tomorrow and you make 3 lists, people normally make one list called the to-do list. So I say make 3 lists, to achieve list. इस हफ्ते में ये 3 चीजें अचीव करनी है. These things are those which will directly contribute to the goals I have. So that is number 1, to achieve list. The second one is to-do list. There are some things you have to be done. I have to pay this bill. It's not nothing to be achieved. So please segregate what is to be achieved, which is directly contributing to my goals. And the second one is mundane things. And then there's a focus funnel. Do I have to do everything myself? No. So the first thing I do is I eliminate. आपको कभी भी जिंदगी में फोकस करना है, you have to first do elimination, declutter. Okay. एक जो स्कल्पचर होता है क्या करता है, उसको एक लकड़ी का टुकड़ा दिया जाता है. He has a clear vision that he wants a particular type of a statue coming out of it. He scrapes the wood. That means he keeps removing all the unwanted stuff, and what is left is the clear statue that he had in mind. How do you apply it in your normal life? That you are perplexed, you said disillusioned, you are confused. ये करूं 50 ऑप्शन. तो 50 की लिस्ट बनाइए और लिखिए उसमें कि इसमें से क्या है जो मेरे गोल्स को कंट्रीब्यूट नहीं कर रहा है. डिलीट दैट. Firstly, you have to say what is there in my task list which can be eliminated. I'm just doing it because I love it. मेरे को दिल करता है, मेरे को बड़ा अच्छा लगता है, इसलिए मैं कर रहा हूं. But is it contributing to your goals? No, it's not. मेरे को वीडियोस देखने बड़े अच्छे लगते हैं. ठीक है, मेरे को वीडियो गेम्स खेलनी बड़ी अच्छी लगती हैं. आई बिलीव इट मेक्स माई इंटेलिजेंस एंड ऑल दैट, जो भी है. ठीक है. सो यू से ओके, आई ओनली हैव हाफ एन आवर फॉर दिस, नो मोर. आधे घंटे का अलार्म लगाया, आधे घंटे के बाद बंद. यू हैव टू फर्स्टली, आई टोल्ड यू, सेल्फ डिसिप्लिन. आप जितना मर्जी कॉर्पोरेट में कोशिश करो कि लोग नहीं करेंगे, आप उनके ऊपर बैन लगा दो, उधर वो फायर वॉल लगा दो, ये कर दो, दैट दे आर नॉट द आंसर्स. द आंसर्स आर टू make them self-disciplined, and that is when you make people realize. So please use people like me. I've just done a program a month back for Smith and Nephew. Ask them the type of change that has happened, because you have to tell people in a very influential, in a very inspiring way that they see, my training, what I do is, and that is what every leader should do, and please listen to this part very carefully. Instead of forcing yourself, even as parents, instead of, having an external force, create an internal desire. Instead of you saying, beta, go to the gym, the son tells you, can you wake me up at 5? I have to go to the gym. In your team, please create the same thing. That people want to do it more than you want to do it. उनकी चाहत वो लेके आओ कि they want to achieve the goal as much as you want to do it. In fact, more than what you want to do. So that is what we try to do. Now, people at 40, 50 who come to me for training, it's not easy to change a person's way of thinking. हमारी आते 40 साल तक तो बहुत rigid हो जाती है. It takes time. But I tell people कि आपकी टीम में 2 बंदे 3 बंदे चेंज हो गए, थोड़े से चेंज हो गए, वहीं से चेंज स्टार्ट हो जाती है. एक दूसरे को देख के स्टार्ट हो जाता है. तो you have to bring a culture in your company कि इस कंपनी में कोई फेसबुक नहीं देखता है भाई. कोई एक देख रहा होगा तो दूसरे बोलेंगे क्या कर रहा है यार, ये हमारी कंपनी में नहीं होता है. To build that culture. It is not just by telling people. You can't give orders. I'm telling you, when I joined the army in 70, you could give orders. हमारे जवान पूछते नहीं थे, कर देते थे जो बोलो. लेकिन आज का जवान नहीं करता. आपको आर्मी में भी, चाहे आर्मी एक्ट है, चाहे जो भी है, आज के लीडर को बहुत समझ के एक ऐसा ऑर्डर देना पड़ता है जो एक जवान पूछे, सर मैं क्यों कर रहा हूं. पहले नहीं पूछता था. पहले आपके बच्चे नहीं पूछते थे. आई नेवर आस्क्ड माय पेरेंट्स व्हाई. व्हाटएवर माय पेरेंट्स सेड आई डिड दैट. टुडे माय ग्रैंडसन डजंट डू एनीथिंग टिल ही नोज व्हाई ही इज डूइंग इट. So I know, Atul, whether I have really answered your question, but there is a lot that is done in that process. It's a long process of many of these things which are done to make sure that a team functions the way you want, and that is the leadership. That how do I do it where it becomes their internal desire, not my external enforcing. I have done it in many companies, but do you think it happens 100%? No. My aim always in a company is, can I change 5%? मेरे लिए 5% का टारगेट होता है, बिकॉज मेरे को पता है कि इससे ज्यादा हो नहीं सकता. In schools, the percentage is better. When I go to children, that is much better. Why? Because they are more moldable. मेरी ट्रेनिंग स्टार्ट हुई थी एट द एज ऑफ 10. सो जो मेरे अंदर डिसिप्लिन आया कि जो मेरे को सुबह उठ के पीटी करनी है, मेरे को ये करना है, मेरे को टाइम पे जाना है, दैट हैपेंड इन क्लास 7. Yes, go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah.
One more thing. I just would like to, I've heard many people talking about the Kargil, but very few people talks about the Galwan Heights. If you can throw some lights on actually what has happened in Galwan, that would be great.
I'll tell you, I'm not the right person, so I'll not, I won't tell you a fluke. I know as much as you know about Galwan because I retired 20 years ago, right? Now I don't keep a track of what's happening in the army. मैं भी उतना ही टीवी से देख लेता हूँ जितना आप देखते हैं. All that I know is my own battalion fought that war. It is Bihar Regiment. And we know that they did a very good job, right? But अभी उसमें ये था कि we were again taken by surprise. We were betrayed by Chinese. And
Always.
We had to do hand-to-hand fighting where our people rose to the occasion. They were adaptable enough कि जब हमारे पास लोगों के हाथ में weapon ही नहीं था, and they still fought. So that is all I can talk about Galwan Heights, but I'm not I'm not prepared for अगर lessons learned from Galwan. If you give me some time, I'll have to study them and all, offhand nahi. Because you see, talking like this somewhere, I don't think we should be talking irresponsibly. So I could make a statement which is wrong.
True. Yeah.
Sir,
But
Atul, did I answer your first question?
It is quite elaborate, but
you can,
okay.
You can get to me one-to-one for any more detailed thing I can tell you. But वो भी just over a conversation नहीं होता है. जो मैं चीजें पूरे दिन की ट्रेनिंग में सिखाता हूँ, मैं आपको 1 मिनट में कैसे बता दूँ?
Yeah, understand.
Something like telling a child कि tell me college में क्या होता है, तो बोले यार पहले तो 12 क्लासेस पास कर ले, फिर कॉलेज की बात करेंगे. क्यों बरखा? Am I right or not? Is there? Barkha is there? No. Yeah, she is there.
Yes, sir.
Barkha, can we send
And
a brilliant child from class 3 to college?
no, sir, not at all.
Can we have a baby born in 2 months?
No, sir.
यार एक प्रोसेस है यार, वो 9 महीने लगने ही लगने हैं, आप जो मर्जी कर लो, जितना मर्जी जल्दी में हो जाओ. So these are all process driven things. So training is also a process driven thing. So it can't happen just like that. Yeah, so I can answer brief questions, जिसके brief answers हैं. Yes, go ahead, Sri Krishna, you were saying something.
Sir, when you are training for a educated participants, maybe they all are postgraduate and PhD holders. When you are training for them, how would you bring discipline among the indisciplined group of this such kind of audience? Because they think that I know everything. I have enough information about this. I've come here for the promotions, or I've come here because the seniors have told me to come and join to this group. But they have to undergo for a training program. When you're doing a training program of such kind, how do you bring the audience to the track and deliver as a trainer to this type of group members?
You want me to tell you an honest answer?
Yes, sir.
Or a dishonest answer?
I want both. Because as a trainer, it has to go on. And as a learner, they have to learn.
So
because
I will tell you, that there is no formula for this. कोई नहीं बोल सकता है कि अगर आप एक trainer हैं, because I've been doing a program called Train the Super Trainer. I've trained more than 1,500 trainers in India on that, right? And in the COVID time, I converted that program from Train the Super Trainer to Train the Online Trainer, and did another, I think, 1,000 odd people during COVID. Now, I learned in ASMT, where I was a captain instructor. वहां पे एक ब्रिटिश पैम्फलेट था called Methods of Instruction. और वहां पे हमने सीखा था ऐसी ऐसी चीजें जो कोई कहीं बुक में नहीं है, कोई ट्रेनिंग में नहीं सिखाता है. That is why I thought that I was a person fit for, because I'd learned how to train people. And at the age of 26, when I was posted in ASMT as a captain, मेरी क्लास में कम से कम 10-12 मेजर होते थे, मेरे से सीनियर होते थे. Now, I am not a technical guy. I was teaching an automobile. हम पूरा जैसे ब्रेक सिस्टम पढ़ा रहे हैं, और मैं टेक्निकल बंदा नहीं हूं, और वहां टेक्निकल बंदे बैठे हुए हैं, उनको भी पढ़ाते थे. तो पहले तो एक वहां सीख लिया कि जो तुम्हारे से ज्यादा नॉलेजेबल लोग हैं उनको कैसे सिखाया जाए. अब ये एक्सपीरियंस से आया, ये कहीं मेरे को मतलब कि उसकी ऐसी कुछ सिखलाई नहीं थी. फर्स्टली, when I came into the corporate world, I'll tell you, for many years I struggled, because when I was told to train people like this, either they were from IT, I had no IT background. Then I started learning कि यार my concentration is not on their subject. आपका subject कुछ भी हो. बाद में तो मैंने, I'm telling you, I did a shipping company. I knew nothing about shipping. Okay, now I am so confident. अब मेरे पास जो मर्जी ले आओ, मेरे पास group of CEOs ले आओ, कोई problem नहीं है आजकल. I have done at least 40 super senior level programs where the CEO and his 10 reportees, 11 बंदे आए हैं ट्रेनिंग के लिए. एक मैंने बैंकॉक में ट्रेनिंग की, 17 people, Tata Green Battery. They took me to Bangkok. Okay. And what really happens here is that I only focus on leadership. And what I think is कि यार ये बंदा जिसमें भी आप, you are CA. I'm telling you, I have zero knowledge about numbers. I have zero knowledge on all this. But I don't teach you that. No? I'll teach you leadership. यार आप चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट मेरे से बहुत अच्छे हैं, लेकिन लीडरशिप तो जो मैंने सीखी है वो आपने नहीं सीखी ना. तो मैं तो आपको लीडरशिप पढ़ा रहा हूँ. अरे मेरे को कोई बोलेगा कि मेरे को सीए का, मैं वो बोलूंगा मैं अभिजीत से पूछ लो. मेरा तो लाइफ में एक ही बंदा है जो मैं जानता हूँ, उसको डाइवर्ट कर दूंगा कि अभिजीत के पास चले जाओ. या आपके पास, नाउ दैट आई नो सो मेनी मोर सीएस, I'll say probably go to Shivani. Okay. But so the point is, the honest answer is that it was only experience.
Okay.
Okay. First time I did I had done training for about 2 years. I was finding कि हर time मेरे को वो success नहीं मिल रही. The way I wanted people to change at the end of it, इतनी मेहनत की, सब कुछ किया, बड़ा plan बनाया, लेकिन from the body language of people, I thought कि I have not been able to convince them. ये बंदे खुश होके नहीं गए. Godrej का प्रोग्राम किया. एक Godrej में एक डिपार्टमेंट है, उसके 200 लोग. वो 200 के 200 की ट्रेनिंग हुई ओवर 6 months. जो आज बंदा बीमार है, आज नहीं आ सका, कल आया. बट ऑल 200 पीपल केम. तो उनके हर प्रोग्राम में एक दो एजीएम उस लेवल के लोग आते थे देखने के लिए हो क्या रहा है. So one day at lunch time, there were two people of the senior level who had come, and they said, "Sir, you are doing a great job. हमारा हर बैच जाता है ना, वो दूसरों को भी इन्फ्लुएंस हो जाता है." And they started working like very good teams. तो मैंने कहा देखो मैंने आपको हाई परफॉर्मिंग टीम्स बना के दे दी हैं, लेकिन लीडरशिप तो आपकी वही है, आपने तो ट्रेनिंग की नहीं है. You have not been trained to handle high performing teams. आपके साथ वो भी तो एक मैशिंग होनी चाहिए ना. They went and spoke to the boss and the boss said, yes, we'll also do a program. So normally मैं कहता हूँ टॉप डाउन होता है. पहले लीडर्स की ट्रेनिंग करो, फिर जूनियर्स की करो, बिकॉज आपने ट्रेनिंग लीडर्स की कर दी. By the time you come to the middle level management, the leaders have already done some part of it. They've already percolated something. So it's drop down. It's drip method. ऊपर से नीचे आता है. Right? Okay, we are getting close to 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, I have to leave. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, it took me a few years. जब मैंने उसकी गॉडरेज की ट्रेनिंग की, मेरे को सडनली रियलाइज किया मैंने बोल तो दिया है, बट मैंने इस लेवल के लोग हैंडल नहीं किए अभी तक. तो मे बी आई नॉट बी एबल टू ट्रेन देम. So I hired a very, very professional trainer who had been in the corporate training for 20 years. मैंने उसको बोला सर आप आ जाओ. I paid him that time about 20,000 rupees. आजकल तो वो ₹1,00,000 लेता है, लाख से भी ज्यादा ही लेता होगा. I paid him 20,000 rupees for that program. And I said, you conduct the program, I'll be your co-facilitator, I'll watch. And to my mind, one thing was there, I'm paying 20,000 rupees to learn. कि ये क्या करता है, देखते हैं. वो दिन और ये दिन मैंने दोबारा कभी एक ट्रेनर हायर नहीं किया. I realized कि यार ये तो कुछ नहीं. ये जो उनका MD था, he was at least 12 years younger than me. तो मैंने कहा यार ये जितना मर्जी गॉडरेज में देवर इनटू अ वेरी टेक्निकल थिंग, जितना मर्जी टेक्निकल होगा, लेकिन लीडरशिप का इसको कुछ नहीं पता है. तो मैं तो लीडरशिप सिखा रहा हूँ ना. तो मेरा लीडरशिप का 54 इयर्स का एक्सपीरियंस है. ले आओ कोई लीडर जो है 54 इयर्स की एक्सपीरियंस का. सो नाउ विद दैट कॉन्फिडेंस एंड द एक्सपीरियंस, सो इट इज ऑल ट्रायल एंड एरर. There was no even if I have to train trainers now, I tell them from my experience. I made a little syllabus for them कि ये करना है, and I tell them examples. Okay, so it's more from my. There's no textbook on that. You will not find a textbook which is telling you how you can train a team. Textbook नहीं है. लोगों के opinions हैं. हाँ, there are some team building books, but you'll not be able to learn much from there. You have to get an expert who will train your team. And you have to learn how to control that team, or how to manage that team, or how to lead that team. Okay, thank you. I think now I can't take any minute more. I'm already at 9. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I'm listening to break n number of times.
Then just to us now, because we started 10 minutes late, so 1 hour 15 minutes.
So one last question I would like to ask you.
I really have to go now because I've got another thing.
Okay.
Somebody just called up actually, तो मैंने कहा नहीं आ रहा हूँ 2 minute.
Okay, sir.
जल्दी पूछो. हाँ चलो देखते हैं.
So this message goes to around 3,000 people. How to influence people to come and join the sessions?
हाँ. Sorry.
This message for these sessions goes out to around 3,000 people. But only 30, 40 or 50 people join us every Saturday. So how to influence people to join us every Saturday for a learning session?
Very, very difficult to do. I can't do it myself, I'm telling you. Ask Abhijit, वो bloom करता है. I've been involved with them to say यार ये क्यों इतने कम लोग आते हैं. ठीक है, मैं अपने प्रोग्राम करता हूँ, मैं भी अपनी कम्युनिटी में 3000 लोगों को बोलता हूँ, 15 लोग आते हैं. ये आजकल का ट्रेंड है. People don't want to learn, they have no time for it. I've just been to IIT, which is one of the it is 10th ranking in the country, in Varanasi. 9,000 students in that college. And they advertise much about I am coming and doing this, and commando talks tha hamara. And there were only 50 people. 50 people out of 9,000 people. That is a trend. So I don't think much can be done about it. I can talk to you separately. I'll tell you a few things
Sure,
you
sir.
can try. But हम खुद बहुत fail हुए हैं. I was leading a thing called HNP. We tried our best. We reached 60. But then again, it fell down to 20. And the same question
is
is
happening
asked
here.
people, how to get more people here. Free का program है, सुनने को तैयार नहीं.
Right.
और because free का इसलिए सुनने को तैयार नहीं. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for all your time and wonderful deliberations, wonderful lessons.
Thank you.
Much gratitude to you for your time, as well as our audience, to make these sessions successful. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for investing that extra time. I hope you get the returns on